The hot seat on a Media Monday.
Hey everyone, I'm Ron Klopfenstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. We want to welcome everyone who is streaming the video of this broadcast on Facebook Live, as well as our audio streaming audience at 955theheat.com, and those of you who are listening on our broadcast at 95.5 FM The Heat. Today we'll be checking out the 20th anniversary of the American Cancer Society's popular local event, the Uticon, and we'll be talking about writing with two local authors. First up is Jack Cooper. October is LGBTQ History Month, and he's written a new biomythographical anthology entitled Pain Before the Rainbow. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let me ask you first, before you get started, what is a biomythographical anthology?
I get asked that a lot, actually. And
I imagine.
It's an unusual term, right?
And I'm an English teacher too, an English professor, and I'm stumped.
I'll explain. It's a genre that was created by poet and author Audre Lorde when she wrote her book, Zami, A New Spelling of My Name, which she weaves together history, biography, and myth, autobiography in my case. And biomythography was taught to me by Professor Jill Hannafin of Union College so many years ago.
Cool.
It represents all the ways in which we perceive the truth, our perception of the truth.
Yeah.
It's writing down who we are based on the emotions and the experiences we lived through. So it's imagery that becomes true in the telling. It's a visceral sense. It provides emotional credibility. It allows me to fill in the blanks of my memory by using the emotions I experienced and the images that they created, and still write a nonfiction book.
Right. What are some of the emotions that you experienced at the time? I think, this book talks about what it was like to grow up as someone who was gay for you in the 70s.
Correct.
I experienced this in the 80s. I have some common experiences with this, and I think it's important for people to know really how difficult it was. And I think too, I really want people to know, especially with what's happening now, with all the hate and Trump and the MAGA hate movement and stuff, I want people to know, how much hate and oppression, we had to survive. Just to be here now.
And we barely survived.
We barely did,
honestly.
right.
We've lost so many of our own people, our own kind, to their own hand, by their own hand.
Right.
For reasons that were unnecessary because of this social, cultural purity culture that existed during the 70s.
I mean, when I was a teenager in the 80s, the Republicans let AIDS continue. They thought it was good because it killed people that they hated.
And you're right. And it was hateful back then. It's becoming hateful again. It appears that the current political environment is suggesting that we're back to where we were before the rainbow. It's suggesting
which was a horrible time.
And the painful experiences that we had back in the 70s and the 80s seem to be coming back around again.
Right.
It was a painful time back then. It was a deadly time, and we had to hide in the shadows. We couldn't share how we felt with anyone.
Right.
We couldn't talk about who we were and who we were with our intimates, with our peers and our colleagues, because we were on the outside. We were considered on the outside. We also were persecuted by the religious and social culture that was taking place.
Right. I mean, the same people that bounce back now, lots of these hate groups, like Moms for Liberty is like a new hate group. And
I know.
They've targeted me, and they're like a local hate group too. But what they represent, the hate that they stand for, is nothing new. It's like the
it
same
isn't
thing.
Nothing new. But we're also looking at the hate that they're perpetuating now with regard to our trans community, for example.
Oh, yeah, right.
The trans community right now are experiencing the pain before their rainbow, what we went through in the 70s and 80s. And we seem to be backsliding with this political, religious, and social leadership banging the drum, this vanguard that we're supposed to go back to some kind of a pure culture that really didn't exist. All it was
white
judgmental,
supremacy, straight supremacy, Christian supremacy.
It was just a judgmental experience by those who are a little too full of themselves to understand that we are also alike them. We're similar to them. We love people the way they do. We grieve the way they do. We raise kids the way they do. We are surviving in every respect the same way they do. So the hate doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
And it's funny when people talk about the 80s being this great time, like, yeah, some parts of the pop culture were good, but the 80s were a horrible time, filled with nothing but hate. It was a
Especially
Reagan time.
for our community.
Right, it was pure hate.
It was pure hate. You know, we have these political and religious leaders who are promoting hate for reasons that don't even pertain to them legitimately. There's no sense whatsoever for them to even speak about some of the things that they speak about, hateful ways that they speak that have no bearing on their lives entirely.
Right,
I mean,
right.
just think about what young kids, LGBTQ plus community kids, are hearing out there, and they're harming themselves in ways that we're not intervening the way we need to.
And to like promote heinous people like Charlie Kirk, who was pure evil, like to
He was pure
present him
evil.
as something that's in any way good. He wasn't even okay. He was pure evil. You know.
He was pure evil, and there are people who are suffering, especially
Because
kids,
of him. Because of him. Yeah.
Right? You know, the fact that we still have kids committing suicide because of the self-hate that is being promoted by these people means that we are failing miserably as a society, as adults, as religious leaders, as political leaders. There's not one child who should experience self-hate, especially to the point where they're going to take themselves out. Not one child.
And that's what they want, you know.
It's
so
what they
was
want.
your life like? What was your pain before the rainbow?
My pain was that I was in love as a teenager with a 20-something, and I couldn't share it, I couldn't express it, I couldn't talk about it, I had to keep it to myself. We had to stay hidden, we had to stay under the covers. It was a time where my true authentic self was being battered by the social and religious norms of the time, and I wasn't unique. There were so many of us out there like that, and we were being battered in ways that were hard to recover from, even as adults, even as we aged, even as we progressed through life. It was the kind of thing that you suffered so intensely that it brought about long-term and almost permanent suffering in ways that, you know, even therapy did its best to help but not eliminate. So, and then when you experience grief after losing someone you're in love with, intensely in love with for 2 years,
you
can't express it. You're on your own. You're by yourself. You can't share it. So you're experiencing this grief in ways that even straight people would experience, but at least they have an outlet.
They have each other.
They have each other. And we didn't have that. And the tragic ending of this 2-year love affair had been so traumatic that it sent me into bouts of serious depression for so many years. It was like a roller coaster. I could not get off the ride. It was that bad. And it really didn't start easing up until I began to write about it. Bits and pieces here and there, I started writing about it. Not that intense therapy didn't help, it certainly did, but I had to release it. And it was such poison in me for so many years that once I started writing about it, I started to feel better about it. I had a different perspective about it.
So how does this book express that?
The book is telling you about my personal journeys. I've wrote stories about that journey, my life's journeys, under these experiences. And I wrote those stories in both first person and third person. And of course, obviously, I had to change the identifying characteristics of those stories so as not to bring out the fact that there are loved ones who have been lost and their families not even aware that they were LGBTQ plus community members. So it wasn't my place to out them, which is why I write under a pseudonym, which is Jack Cooper. For what it's worth, Jack Cooper, by the way, is my dog's AKC name. So I had to come up with something, and that worked. So, but the book is getting great reviews. I mean, it's getting. It was on the bestsellers list for a while. It's been nominated for the Stonewall Book Award for 2026, which I'm excited about. I mean, if you read the book. And
I would like to read a little bit here. There's a part that I highlight. I highlight here, and I want to read it. And you may have some too you'd like to read as well. But I want to talk about this. Like you're talking about you with Anthony, so wrapped up. You were talking about you with Anthony, so wrapped up in who we were or should not be. We didn't think the world held a place for our kind. We're often on hypervigilance, hiding what really made our hearts pound. Those unnameable feelings, and I think that's a really powerful paragraph there because it expresses, I think, exactly how I felt all the time. I was like in middle school and high school, and like that's the deep bullying and oppression that I really do feel like it permanently damaged my ability to interact with others.
Absolutely.
And when I see people like, you know, Moms for Liberty and these hate groups and Trump and like wanted to bring this back, like I have a real awareness of like exactly the kind of pain and hurt they want to cause to kids. So
the suffering is so immense.
They want to remove people's hope, to take hope away from gay kids, to think their life could ever be good,
right?
So that they will do what Anthony did.
Gay kids, they're suffering, right? Now they're suffering. Given the circumstance of today's environment, they are suffering immensely already.
I mean, I'm suffering, and I'm an adult. I'm out of the closet, and like living in this culture right now is horrific.
It's going back to the pain we experienced before the rainbow, before Pride. It's the kind of thing that we have no business in 2025 reverting back to the time when there was so much ignorance about our community. And the suffering that went along with it. And if they're attempting to push this hate agenda that they're doing, they're going to cause nothing more than increased suicides of children. And children, I mean, of all people, just think about it. A child committing suicide because of this self-hate promoted by political leaders, religious leaders, social leaders. It just doesn't make any sense.
And the problem is it kind of makes those religious leaders or political leaders happy because they feel like they exterminated someone that they didn't want. You know?
That they're pleased with the results they're getting. Young kids committing suicides today.
Starting again.
Like
today. The 50s, like the 70s.
Exactly. I mean, the Trevor Project, for example. I donate to the Trevor Project because it's a program that it is a worthy program. It fights gay suicides, young suicides. You know, so what better way to put your belief, your money where your mouth is just you've got to support these kids. They're in need. They're reaching out. They're struggling. They're having such a tough time, and we as adults, you know, given all the religious nonsense that's going out there and their so-called values, why are we allowing these kids to become so self-hateful that they want to take their own lives? It's just
encouraging.
It doesn't make any sense. And of all places, the United States,
I know,
this is not happening the way it is in the United States like it is in Europe. It doesn't happen around the world like it does here. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would any kid be expendable for these ridiculous reasons? Hard to fathom.
Are you surprised by this? You know, I grew up in the 80s, and I honestly believed my whole life that like really a third of the people in the world now, like a third of people that I know, a third of my family members too, like would be perfectly happy if I were in a concentration camp. I really felt like, you know, we said never again, you know, after the Holocaust and stuff, but I always kind of knew that never again wasn't really true. That the hate was always there, and that even though like we made progress like in the 90s and 2000s and marriage equality and stuff, I mean, I kind of knew that those people were in the shadows. They're just waiting to like get the go ahead like from someone like Trump.
They got the
go ahead. Are you
go-ahead.
surprised by what's happening?
I actually am, and I'll tell you why. After the 70s and 80s, things got so much better for us. Now, keep in mind, we do live in New York, which is a whole lot better than living in the Bible Belt.
It'd be horrifying.
Or in the Midwest.
Florida or red state.
Can you imagine if we were living among that population, how awful it would be?
Yeah.
But, you know, we live in New York, so it's better than it's in other places.
Right.
Okay? I will say that.
Yeah.
But, my goodness, I am surprised because we made such progress. We were being viewed as just as normal and ideal as anyone else. I mean, why wouldn't we be looked that way? And here we are going backwards because someone needed a political agenda to promote hate and divisiveness.
Right.
And, you know, Trump, for example, I mean, he allowed all these people that belonged under the rock to crawl out from under that rock and do the damage they're doing to this society. It's just unheard of. And religious leaders, for crying out loud. I mean, Jesus' teachings, for example. I mean, why would you
stopped going to my church because of this? Because like they were anti-trans. I was like, that's not Christian at all. So I want nothing to do with this stuff.
These so-called Christians who live with their own skeletons in their own closets, in their own glass houses.
Oh, I know.
For crying out loud,
Yeah.
It's aggravating, it's frustrating, it's an awful thing to think about, but we got to save these kids. I've gotten hate mail about what I'm promoting, what I'm my
sure
messages.
And
the hate mail is suggesting that the LGBTQ plus kids are not worthy of saving. I mean, come on.
Of course, right.
Who
That's
would
what
say
they
that?
want, yeah.
Who would say that? But these are religious leaders. These are political leaders. These are social and cultural leaders who are suggesting that these kids, because of this reason, not that it's valid, are not worthy of saving them. Really?
Well,
come on now.
also because it gives them power too. Like Trump's power is hate. I mean, a lot of people too.
It's the only thing that
it's all
these
they got,
people have in common is
that's true.
hate.
The commonality. Yeah.
Hate. Why? Because their lives are so miserable
So what do you
that
do
they're
about
promoting
that?
this. That's a good question. I suppose what I'm doing about it is getting this message out in this book. The book is going to serve, I'm hoping, is going to serve a purpose. And let me suggest what I think it is.
We're going to talk more when we come back from the break about the purpose is going to serve. Maybe you can tell me a little bit. We have about a minute left. We're going to break, and then we'll talk more when we come back. About
Very good. Yeah, I'm trying to highlight the importance of memory, because we have memories of what it was like in the 70s, 80s.
Right.
And I want to talk about why sorrow and pain and grief that was experienced back then should not come back today.
Right.
It's supposed to be behind us.
Right.
We're supposed to have moved on. We developed, we evolved.
Yeah.
But suddenly we've regressed so much in this country that, God, the rest of the world is looking at us like, what the hell happened to America?
I'm actually really shocked that we've fallen this. And I grew up, like I said, during the Reagan time, so I knew that government could work against minorities, and I knew how bad, I knew things could get bad. But I am surprised by how fast with Trump and this Charlie Kirk thing took me by surprise. I mean, there's people I won't go to Thanksgiving with because of this. It's like, I think we have to draw a line, with hate. So, yeah. Well, we will talk more after the break. Okay. It's quite a conversation. We've been talking today to Jack Cooper. October is LGBTQ History Month, and he's written a biomythographical anthology entitled Pain Before the Rainbow. When we return, I'll take you to the 20th anniversary of Uticon, and later in the show, Pete Colter will be back to talk about his new novel, Abused. I'm Ron Klopfenstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. More after the break. I'm Ron Klopfenstein at MVCC in Utica, where the American Cancer Society is holding the 20th annual Uticon. I'm with Bob, and Bob, you're the organizer of this event, and this is a fundraiser, right?
Yes, we've been doing it for 20 years. It's been primarily for the Cancer Society that whole time, just bringing professional artists and writers from comic books here to the area to talk about their work and sign copies of it, and then, of course, with vendors and things too for people to get new and old comics.
So, are comics a popular thing around here?
Yes, we've had a local shop that's been in business since the 80s, and still doing very well, thankfully.
Yeah.
And, I think in pop culture, certainly with all the movies and things that have been going on and the TV shows, comics are kind of timeless in that way, at least the characters.
Yeah. So who are some of the people, the celebrities that you have here?
Our main professional guest this year is Mike Lilly, Cory Smith, Bart Sears, Andy McDonald, and John Bragman. So they're great to be here and donate their time to come and meet fans and talk about their work. And
great, maybe we could go and talk to them. Are you Cory? Are you Cory? Or hey, Cory? I'm Ron Klopfenstein from 95.5 FM The Heat. Can I interview you?
Sure.
So Cory, what is it that you do for Marvel?
So I've drawn a handful of books for Marvel. I've been kind of all over the Marvel universe. I've done a little bit of Spider-Man, a little bit of X-Men. I recently did runs on Ghost Rider and Wolverine and Fantastic Four most recently. So I've kind of been all over the place in Marvel.
So how does the artist get into the Marvel universe? How did you get the job?
Well, this is literally what I wanted to do since I was a kid. So I kind of had my career set in stone since I was 11 or 12. And I just never stopped drawing. And I kind of went to comic book school after college. I say kind of because it's a school in New Jersey called the Joe Kubert School of Cartooning and Graphic Art.
Oh wow, cool.
it's not an accredited school. But it's a 3-year program, and a lot of your teachers are working professionals, and you make a lot of connections with
probably,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. In your last year, you'll get portfolio reviews with a lot of the big publishers, and you'll get to meet a lot of working professionals, and so you're kind of able to build a network out of that, and that's kind of what I did. But I didn't do comics right out of school. I did some children's book work. And,
nice.
And it was fun. Making art for a living in any respect is great. But I started to get the itch to do comics. So
what is your job like? What is like does Marvel send you an email to write what the title is going to be about, and you draw the pictures, or how does it work?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. A lot of the communication is done over email. I will as I am finishing up a project, before I'm done with it, I'll hear from any one of the number of editors at Marvel about something new.
Feedback and stuff.
Yeah, they'll email me with a project offer or cover or something, and that's pretty much how it works.
No, do you do pen and ink or pencil and ink? Or do you all computer now, or how do you?
No, I'm all totally traditional. I like to ink. I pencils and ink. For covers, I like to ink my own work. But for interiors, it's so time intensive that I mostly just do pencils now, and I have other artists ink my work.
I see.
On interiors.
Now, if someone wants to get into this field, or if a kid wants to grow up to be a comic book artist, what advice do you have?
Draw every day, all the time, as much as you can. Just practice, because it's like any muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it's going to get.
10,000 hours.
Yes, exactly. Somebody said to me years ago, "Do you have 10,000 bad drawings in you?" And the more you're drawing, the quicker you get them out. Yeah. And also, I say draw all the time, as much as you can. And also, if you want to do comics specifically, focus on things that you aren't really comfortable drawing or aren't confident drawing, whatever that might be. Hands or faces or horses or cars or whatever. Focus on the things that are kind of boring and not easy to draw, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. It's a lot more of that kind of stuff than it is Wolverine versus Sabretooth. So
what titles do you have coming up next that'll be out in stores?
I have a title coming out next week called Imperial Guardians from Marvel. It's just a one-shot that I did half of the issue. I did half the art in that issue. So that'll be out next. And the Fantastic Four, the trade edition of the run that I did, I think is also out next month sometime.
Cool. We'll have to look for that. Look who I ran into, our entertainment correspondent from Hot Seat Media Monday.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Nabil. So Nabil, what's going on here today?
This is Uticon. This is Utica's local comic convention that happens once a year in the fall. Right here in Utica, or central New York here.
So there's all these people with comic books, and I see R2D2 he is over there.
We got vendors, we got artists, creators, we got people selling toys, comics, a little bit of everything, right? And it's put on by the American Cancer Society. Very modest entry fee. All goes to charity from their end. Yeah.
So what's the buzz here today? What are people talking about?
That it's the 20th anniversary. This is the 20th edition of this convention. So and it's just it's a very small mom and pop type thing. It's not like the big giant conventions where you've got tons of celebrities and this and that. It is a Comic Con.
Right. But it's nice. There's no lines, and you can talk to people.
Right, exactly. And there's people from all over. I talked to one vendor. He's coming from Lake George. Guy we just sold some stuff from is Canandaigua. All over.
I'm with Sean, and Sean, you write Gamer Girl and Vixen comic books. What is that about?
This is my own original comic book series. It's about two supervillains who meet cute on the rooftops of New York and use their powers to rob celebrities.
So how do you get into comics?
I got into comics when I was a little kid. My father was a collector when he was young, and he had plenty of his collection lying around to read when I was a kid. And that led into reading comics, watching that old Batman TV show, watching cartoons of superheroes. And then once I had disposable income of myself, I would buy my own comics at the comic book shops and just kept reading them into adulthood.
Now, what were some of your favorites as you were growing up? Either of your dad's comic books or ones that you bought? What are some of the titles and characters that you liked?
All the classics everyone's heard of: Spider-Man, X-Men, stuff like that. Batman and Robin, all the good ones, all the classics.
So now, how did they influence Gamer Girl and Vixen? The imagery or the characters or the themes or or how did this how is this an outgrowth of your lifelong interest in comic books?
So I've always read superhero comics, and as a kid, and superhero cartoons, and so this is just my attempt to do some of my own original superheroes, their own original superhero stories.
So Dave, you were on my show, and you have a variety of stuff here. You have traditional kind of storybooks, and you have graphic novels, and Frank the Barber is more of an in-depth kind of thing.
Yes, everything from middle school to all ages, graphic novels, as you said, regular novels, children's picture books, some pieces for adults as well.
Oh, these are yours as well too.
Right over here, these some of these are adult comedy books as well. So a little array of things here for different audiences.
So tell me about this Holidays title here.
That's an older piece of work. That is an early collaboration I did with Andrew Zielinski, the very talented artist illustrator. It's an adult comedy series about a little bawdy about the bar where Santa, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and their friends go when they're not working to kick back, have some drinks, get into some trouble. So that was probably a little over a decade ago. Was one of our early collaborations, but it went over well with reviewers and readers.
Yeah. You should come on the show and talk about that. That's really cool.
Blast from the past.
The burlesque.
Pull it out of the archives.
Yeah.
And then, there's the general children's picture books here, variety, Lucy and the Ghost, Little Lamp. The new one, Look Out, Here Comes the Mope. And then Lacey and Lily, which is kind of our Hallmark with Darby Pop Publishing about a middle school girl and her dog who find a pair of costumes in her late grandmother's closet. When she puts them on her and her dog, she finds it gives them superpowers. They do what any good-hearted middle schooler do. They fight crime, stop villains, and try to uncover the mystery of why the costumes were in Grandma's closet to begin with. And as they do untangle that mystery, the intergalactic fashionista who made the costumes invades Earth because she wants them back.
I love that. What a good thing. Why do you think comics are such a popular thing still?
Well, comics have been around for at this point over 100 years. Superhero comics, came about in the late 1930s, but you had comics even before that in different ways, even when they were just collecting the newspaper strips into books as well. So it's something that's resonated with audiences for about a century, and I think that while the formats have changed, the interest and the fun that the medium have brought certainly has stayed, and at the same time, it's an art form that's developed over time as well. It's become more sophisticated. You started out with newspaper strips. You had things that were made primarily for juvenile audiences, or to be thrown away and sent over to servicemen during World War II, and then tossed away and disposable. But as time went on, and those people who had read the books in the 1930s and 40s and 50s grew up. And they started working in the industry as well. They started to evolve it and start telling more nuanced stories, more sophisticated stories that were able to get more into the human psyche and the brain and emotion more than the stories that they were reading as kids.
And you can do that with comic books in a way similar to daytime soaps, because you have the years and years and years for the characterizations to build up and the storylines in the canon.
Especially if you've had characters that have been around since, let's say,
years,
the 1940s. Exactly.
Yeah.
You've had enough that you can build upon, and you can evolve, and you can change. It's a little different, obviously, when you can you're first telling a story, and you're setting that all for some of the newer things of the past 10, 15, 20 years. But when you've got things that have been around since 1939, 1940, obviously there's new and different ways that you can play with that material to tell new stories. So they kind
of, the great thing about comics, I think they draw people in with their vividness, with the picture, with the combination of the text and the pictures and the colors. But they really have so much depth,
Absolutely, and that's why I think you see, these days you see such a wide array of material and audiences they reach. You've got graphic novels and comics that are made for small children. You've got ones that are made for middle schoolers. You've got ones that are made for middle-aged people. They are telling stories that are targeted to their particular audience. And you're seeing that cross over to many mediums, as you said. You've got back in the 40s, some of those characters crossed over to radio. 50s, 60s, it was television, and now we've got movies like we've never seen before. a superhero glut, if you will, things that we would have never thought of even 20 years ago.
Very much alive, you know, this genre.
Absolutely.
The people here today got to preview some new titles, got to talk to some celebrities, and got to talk about their love of all things having to do with comic books. At the 20th annual Uticon, I'm Ron Klopfenstein for 95.5 FM, The Heat.
You're in the hot seat on Media Monday.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hot Seat on this Media Monday. I'm Ron Klopfenstein. This year, the Mohawk Valley celebrated the 20th anniversary of Uticon, the popular comic book convention that raises funds for the American Cancer Society. Photojournalist Jim Hale and I were there, and we have this report. One of the people that I interviewed was our entertainment correspondent, Nabil Khan, and as you know, listeners, he has the latest news in comics, gaming, superheroes every month right here on 95.5 FM, High C Media Monday. And I think we're the only local radio show that can say we have a correspondent for superhero news and comics and gaming, which are significant things. So, but right now, Jack Cooper's in the studio now. He wrote Pain Before the Rainbow, and we're talking about his book and what life was like back for people like us who are gay back in the 70s, 80s, and you know, the bad old days.
My book is there's about 14 stories in there. Half a dozen, 6 of them deal with intimate suicides that I had to experience, which
was really a part of our lives.
It
people
was
made
part
it
of
a part of our
we were
lives,
losing
you know?
people left and right for the wrong reasons. But the book's basis is a story called Anthony's Sin.
Jack, stick that mic in your face there, right there, okay?
The book's basis is that story called Anthony's Sin. It's got to be read. These messages have to get out there. It's a compelling read for anyone seeking to understand the gay experience before the rainbow and gay pride through the lens of deadly losses, immense grief and suffering, and eventual healing. Let me warn your readers, this is a tragic and heartbreaking read. It will not provide sweet dreams at night, but the messages in this book have to get out. They are relevant today given the political attacks on our community, especially the trans youngsters.
What is the message you want to get out?
The message is we are failing these kids. We can wave the rainbow flag, even the American flag, until the cows come home. But as long as kids are dying by their own hand, we as society, we as adults are failing them, terribly failing them. There's not one child who should feel such self-hate given the bluster of Christian ideals.
Well, what do we do about the fact that people want them to do, like the hate, you know, the hate groups?
We have to counter the message that we are hearing about hate. We have to do it in a way that is just as forceful, if not more so, than the messages we're hearing about hate and the LGBTQ plus community. And we have to be just as vicious and malicious and violent if necessary than those who are doing the same thing to us. And we just have to do this. Look, we have to save these kids, and right now we've already experienced it back in the 70s and 80s. We know what they're going through. We have to get involved. We have to intervene. We have to stop them from doing what they're doing.
And I also feel like perhaps we need to like draw a line too. Like, you know, the bigots and the hateful people are quick to draw a line and say you're not okay. I think it's okay for us to draw a line and say, like, if you're like that, you're not okay. You know,
definitely.
I mean, that's what I'm saying to people, even in my family. If you're part of this hateful movement, you're not okay with me, you know?
Listen, if the Charlie Kirks in the world can get out there and promote hate,
right.
then we as a community who have suffered it already and have the trauma to prove it could also do the same thing.
By him,
exactly. We can do the same thing. We just have to do it. We have to save these kids. You know, these people who are saying that, you know, religious ideals, oh my goodness, you're letting kids die by their own hand. How could
we know it's hypocritical?
It is hypocritical, but God, come on, we got to do something. We have to do something.
Right. So how can people get more information about the book or get the book, or do you have a website? Or?
Yeah, there's a website called jack-cooper.com. The book is available on Amazon, most of the local independent bookstores. It's available on Barnes & Noble. It's available at the publisher's website, Two Sisters Writing. It's available everywhere.
Yeah.
If you read the book, you will be stunned by the kinds of things that I'm sharing with regard to my
you know.
Yes. Can I read?
Yeah, we have a few minutes. We have like a minute left, but you go right ahead.
I have a review by a reader, Michael, who just let me read this. This should say a lot. He says, I took up this book at the recommendation of a friend and the author of her own story of finding love. That friend, by the way, was turned out to be Joni Lindenmeyer, who wrote her share of books as well on these kinds of subjects. He says, I must say that the term biomythographical was unknown to me, but I suppose that any biography includes references which might be remembered as more myth than mundane. Diving in, I could not get enough of this story and read it madly, devouring it to its inevitable end. I was left, perhaps as Jack Cooper was left at the end of this incredible relationship, lost, hurting, unable to comprehend the reality of life without his love. It occurred to me that this guy gets it. His loss of Anthony is a loss I now feel, and this has bound me to Jack in an inexplicable way, and nothing will make sense of why Anthony had to leave him or us. Go ahead.
We're talking to Jack Cooper. He's the author of Peeing Before the Rainbow. When we return, Pete Colter joins us with his new novel, Abused. I'm Ron Clafferson. You're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. We'll have more after the break.
This is Ron Clafferson, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. On the next Hot Seat Media Monday, we'll be joined by Sonia Martinez from the Mohawk Valley Latino Association. They have a big event that's coming up next weekend, so she'll be here to talk about that. Join us for that on Monday, October 13th, right here on 95.5 FM The Heat. Pete Colter has just come out with a new novel. It's called Abused. And Pete, I hate to admit this, but I got to admit this. This is the first time I've ever had a guest where I did not read the book. It's since I'm an English teacher, English professor. Right. I feel bad about that, but you know what? It's also the first time I've ever had two book guests on at the same time.
Right, yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to read one on Saturday, one on Sunday, but then on Sunday we went to the Uticon.
Super busy.
We were at that thing for J-Watch, and so like
I saw you so much yesterday.
Abused. Yeah, so tell me about Abused. Tell us about Abused.
Abused is a darker novel.
Yeah.
The Endless Fall was more or less a novel of hope.
Yeah,
it had a lot of hope in it, and it was very realistic. This one is extremely realistic, even more so, but follows a fractured journals of a teenager suffering from schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
And his kind of battle through his abusive father and the death of his mother and his unborn baby brother.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it kind of sort of traverses throughout his life through a year of school.
Yeah,
and those are the journal entries.
It sounds like a really powerful book, and one that I'm definitely going to read. I want you to know that.
So, please do.
How do you tap into all this darkness? And is that process hard for you? What toll does this take on you?
Right. Well, my writing process really is screenplays. So I write screenplays and then I go back over them. It's extremely hard to get back into that place because I'm not in that place anymore.
Right.
When I was growing up, I was born with colic and manic depression, bipolar disorder, and so I've always been depressed my whole life up until about a year ago, and then things changed, and I just
it was religion.
It was religion, it was religion, and I'm so grateful for that. My life has changed in a million ways, and it is hard to get back to that place.
Right.
And some of the stuff from the book, a lot of it actually, especially Abused, was a lot of my thoughts when I was younger. I felt invisible, and then even when I wasn't invisible, I really didn't want to be around people.
Right.
I had a good couple of friends, and I loved them very much, but unfortunately, all of them are dead now. They didn't survive. And it's so that's painful too in a way. But I also try to take those kind of situations that I had when I was going through those times. I would sit in my room with lights off and metal music blaring for hours because I just couldn't figure out how to be happy at all.
I think and that's something that teenagers do. When you were doing that, like in your room with the metal music on, the lights off, what thoughts were in your head?
It was the only time I felt better. I'll be honest. I was deaf until I was 11.
Oh, wow.
So I had 11 operations.
To restore your hearing?
To restore my hearing, And now I can hear very well. I actually became a musician after that, so thank God for that. But so when I was in there, I think it would pretty much make me feel a little bit better. Like I wouldn't have to kind of put on a show and try to pretend like I was happy to be in school or that I was happy to be around people. And I never hated people. I love people. I'm a very people person. I'm very open to people.
I think sometimes when people like go, and I was talking to the last guest about this, like for me, my personal experience, as someone who was bullied really badly, you know, I think that sometimes the permanent effects of that makes it so you do have to spend a lot of time alone because you just have to go. It's just how you are, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, everybody I think has their way to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
I fortunately wasn't bullied very much.
Right, but I mean, like whatever trauma you have, you know, like you find a way.
Trauma is different for everybody. And I honestly, I think the sitting by yourself is a reflection time for you. You know, it does make you feel better. It lets you think. Yeah.
Right.
And if you can keep the perspective as a positive one, you'll get over it soon. But I mean, when you're going through it, that's not what's on your mind. You know. How
are you able now to like safely go back into that mindset in order to write about it and deal with the trauma that you experienced, but then like come back out of it, you know, with written work,
right?
But not to still be like harmed by digging all that back up.
I would say my children. I think that's really what keeps me centered. It keeps me grounded. My kids have a way of making me see life in a very beautiful point of view.
Yeah,
they're great kids, and
what do they do to
well, my daughter is she's just so super caring, and like we said last time I was on the show, how the Endless Fall even came to be was because of her.
You want to tell her a story, right?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of get closer to my daughter and encourage her to kind of sort of talk about you know, any feelings that she was having, or you know, the way the world is, how it's falling apart. It's hard for my kids who have, you know, a good heart to look at people being murdered or people being hurt and just not be like, you know, what's going on in the world, you know. And they have big hearts, and I think that kind of sort of brings me back down. It centers me. It makes me understand that I'm doing these stories so that other people can get something from it, a perspective that can help them to see something more positive than negative, you know.
Do you think, because you have a unique approach that where you write the like a screenplay first, then like the book second? Do you think they may be doing it like that? Maybe like because with a screenplay, you're thinking of so many like practical matters, like what's actually being shown. Do you think maybe that helps you to like deal with it in a way that's like not so intense at first? Like to deal with the issue, like maybe to describe like what it would look like on a movie screen, and then after that, write it as like the narrative version where you're looking into the feelings and stuff. Does that help you?
It does. For the first book, The Endless Fall, it was hard because I had never written a novel before, so I didn't know the medium of how to change that over and
make
it.
Flesh it out a lot.
I had to make it third person in a way that a person could feel like they were there.
Right.
And in a movie, you do that, but you do it for the director. You do it for the director to make choices.
Well, in a movie, like the writer does some of that, but also the directors do some of that.
The director
actors
has
do some
all
of that,
the pull in a movie.
In a book, it's all you.
It's all me, right? So I can just kind of sort of go, this is how I want the reader to feel.
Right.
And that's the hardest part. Is to gain or gather emotions from people. So that they kind of get the point. Of what it's trying to say. And
how do you know when you did that?
Reviews. People coming up to me, people calling. The health community, the mental health community in Utica has been just so open to this, to the first book, and now to the second book, they're open to it. And I'm getting people telling me how much it's helped them, how much it's given them a different perspective on life, and that is the point. You know, sales are sales, but people's changing of the way they think about things could be the moment that changes their whole entire life. And if that book can do it, or a book can do it, any book, then you know I'm 100% behind it.
I also think, you know, not just the book too, but just the fact that you did it yourself. You know, like I see you at these events, like the Uticon, and you were at the Jay Watch's show last night, like, with your table, someone else. I'm thinking, like, you know, that makes the point too. Like you survived all this stuff. And look how good you're doing now. You know.
Some people say that to me too. I ran into some people last night.
I mean,
at the
you yourself are a
too.
symbol of hope. I think.
I would hope so.
And that's really important nowadays. So
I like to help people as much as I can. So when they say stuff to me about those kind of things, I'm like, that's awesome. What's going on in your life? How much more can I help you? You know.
So, like, what would you say to somebody who's like hurting right now? Like someone maybe even dealing with like the way that the country is right now.
Yeah,
you know, like, what do you say to how can you help other people survive? Because you're a survivor. So
right, I would say I was. Yeah. I would basically say, call me, give me a
What
message,
are some of the
shoot me a
lessons that
message,
you've learned,
find
like,
me
through your
you know,
life?
and I'll talk to them. Well, see, like I said, up until a year ago, I was very much, I hated life.
Yeah.
I always saw it as a bleak existence, right?
Yeah.
And religion seemed to be
So it just,
what
like,
worked for
opened
me.
up
It
everything
opened
for you?
up pretty much everything. I think understanding that there's something bigger than myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that I think maybe I'm put here to help people,
Yeah.
not hurt them. I think that's really kind of what gave me my my lease at it, you know.
I think whenever people take on the mindset of like looking at their own challenges or problems or, you know, like whatever it is that you have to like deal with in life and look at it as like something where think of yourself as like a role model for others, I do think it makes it a lot better, you know, it makes it easier.
Of course.
So.
I think it's good for kids to have role models, especially nowadays. It's,
yeah.
It's super
yeah.
hard. I mean, all the stuff that's going on in the world, it's hard for kids to come home and have their parents say, oh, I'm proud of you for getting this on your test.
Right,
It's hard for parents to be around for kids nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, just
I think
the hustle and bustle.
And so many of us, like, we are going through like this, we're living in a horrific age. And like,
I would say so.
we're all like traumatized, like every minute of our lives, kind of. So it's so hard to like remember, I think, to remember to instill that kindness and stuff and all that kind of,
and you know, turn the TV off.
Yeah,
number one.
Right.
If you're feeling stressed out, turn the TV off.
Right.
Go outside.
I'll bet that you find a lot of mental clarity and calmness and stillness and peace from the process of writing these stories.
I do. When I'm going through it,
like even though it's
hard,
difficult stuff, I mean,
when
just
it's
the flow
done,
of like actually doing it. It's like a good feeling, you know.
And it's rehabilitating to me.
Right.
You know, I'd gone through I went to 6 rehabs.
Right.
You know, and
right.
I've been in and out of mental institutions.
Yeah.
And that I wish I would have written a long time ago. I think maybe it would have helped me a little bit. But everything happens for a reason. And
I was going to say, and I think
it was supposed to happen. I think.
You know, like everything happens for a reason, but also I think everything happens like at the time, like, you know. It's,
everything is meant to be how it is, and if it wasn't, it wouldn't be.
Right, right. Because I was, you know, it really is great to see you out there with these stories and to see, like, you know, these kind of books. And although, like, I haven't read the second one, but I'm sure it's great.
I know you've
read
read
the first one. You know, it's like it's good to have that out there and to have like people who live here, who are artists, express these ideas. You know, like right
it's
now.
important.
So,
it's important. You know, if you got something to say it. You know, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
So you do a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of stuff is like still top secret Hollywood deals here. But like, what can you talk about? You know, you always got some really cool things happening.
I do got some things in the oven right now, baking. I am under contract, so I can't really say some things.
Yeah,
but
it must be a nice feeling to be under contract.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice, especially with the Barnes and Noble ones that are going on and stuff like that. And
being on, you got to have them.
Like I said, everybody's just been so open to what I'm trying to do and the message I'm trying to get out that I've been very lucky.
What do people say to you, like when you're at these events and people come up and talk to you? And I mean, sure, you talk to people who have like read the book and have been like moved by the book, and you must hear like some really powerful things from.
I hear a lot of positive things.
I was gonna say,
I hear a lot of people saying that it made them cry, but it made them understand what society isn't paying attention to, and how easy it is to lose your kids, you know, to anything. Whether it be media, TikTok, whether it be Facebook, whether it be other kids in school.
How
drugs,
do you fight that with your kids?
Well, I homeschool my kids, and my kids are they've been taught from a very early age to be extremely kind because they have no idea what other people are going through. You never know, so always be kind, and they've always been like that. And I think that's just been instilled in them since the beginning. So their view of things, I think, is a lot more contained than a lot of other people's views because you know they have so many other things that they do. So
I think it's good too, like to promote the idea that kindness is like is a thing that is cool because it takes courage to be kind.
It takes
enormous courage now.
It takes a lot.
Especially to be kind. You know, it's like So
especially if you see somebody that was mean to you.
Yeah, well, that's really hard.
To be forgiving.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And that's the hardest thing. I think that's where my life changed, is when I finally decided to forgive everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I've had some people that I needed to forgive, and I forgave them, and I love these people.
Yeah.
And if I saw them again, I would hug them, and I would tell them how much I care about them, because life is too short.
What did they
all
do
that.
for you to forgive them?
Oh man, it changed my life.
How?
It took me out of my depression. It took me out of my.
Was it like a release?
It was a release, a huge one. Yeah. It gave me encouragement. It gave me motivation to write. It put me where I am.
Yeah.
I think it will continue to push me to where I'm going to be, or where I'm supposed to be, because of those values that I have from it now.
Yeah.
You know, forgiveness is a hard thing.
It is very hard.
It's easy to say, oh yeah, I forgive somebody. But to actually forgive somebody, that takes a lot of work.
It's hard as kindness.
It changes your mind, it changes your heart.
Yeah.
You know, and then, obviously quitting drinking.
Right, I mean, that helps a lot. Yeah,
probably helped a lot too. But,
True. So now, if people want more information about your books, like where would they get those? I know you're always out at different events and stuff, but like online, where can they get more stuff?
Okay, so I have 3 books out.
Wow.
Yes, I have the Endless Fall, the debut, and then I have the Endless Fall special edition with cover art by Daniel Letta, who is the manager at Book Arts and More in New Hartford.
Wow.
And Abused is also out, which is also a cover by Daniel Letta.
Oh, nice.
Book Arts and More. And we have a book signing coming up on the 18th at Book Arts and More at his shop.
Where is
he's going to be there. It's New Hartford, right across from Big Apple Music.
Okay, great.
Right around that area.
Yep.
The address is slipping my mind. I think it's 85.
Well, I mean, we'll find it. New Hartford, yeah. It's the 18th, you said, right?
Yes, the 18th, yes. And that's from 3 to 5. And then I have Barnes & Noble on the 25th. That's a book signing.
And it's kind of cool. Like, you can go to Barnes & Noble right here in New Hartford, or Books, what was the other store?
Book Arts and More.
Book Arts and More. And, like, you can go to a book signing with a local author.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
And the artist. He's going to be there,
too. Oh, that's
too.
right, yeah.
Daniel Letta is going to be there with his amazing artwork. I mean, this kid is... you've seen the cover to Abused.
I did. I saw it. Yes.
He is just...
I'm impressed.
His artwork is super impressive.
It's awesome. It's nice to see people collaborate, too.
Yeah, I'm super excited to collaborate with everybody. And I met some comic book guys that
yesterday, I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
A
Uticon graphic novel I'm going to have coming out too.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm sure you'll be back to talk about that.
Screenplays.
All these screenplays, I got to hear about those too.
Yeah, we'll talk.
So our guests today were Jack Cooper, author of Pain Before the Rainbow, and Pete Colter, whose latest novel is Abused. We also stopped down on the 20th anniversary of the American Cancer Society's Uticon. That story on my YouTube channel and Facebook page tonight, and I'll have this entire episode online Wednesday at uticaphoenix.net/Media Monday. Our sound engineer is Jonathan Brooks. He's DJ J-Easy. He's up next with the Easy Ride Home. Jim Hale records the show for YouTube and podcast, and he's our AI creative visualist. Lily Christopher is our associate producer. Nabil Khan is our entertainment correspondent. I'm Ron Klopfenstein. I'll be back next week with another Hot Seat Media Monday.